Streaming live, this is NewsNation Now.
Welcome into NewsNation Now. I am Aaron Nolan. The trial for Derek Chauvin, the man accused of killing George Floyd. The jury selection continues today. And at the site where George Floyd died is a memorial. But there's also an area where journalists and many people are not able to get into. Brian Enton is our correspondent. He has been working this story. In fact, Brian joins us now live. And Brian, I want to go back to that moment when you realized the autonomous zone was not a place for you. There's video of you being asked to leave as you were trying to get some shots from outside that area where George Floyd died.
Yeah, Aaron, it's about a 4-block area where George Floyd died. That's where the memorial is. It's about 15 minutes from downtown where the trial is happening. And last week when we were here covering the trial, we drove out there to try and talk to people and get video of the memorial. And we had heard that it's an autonomous zone, but I sort of assumed that journalists would still be able to get in. But we figured out very quickly that the area is really controlled by different groups of activists. And there are many times where they just don't let outsiders in. And that's what happened to us. We had a bit of a confrontation at the guard huts that they've set up, and they wouldn't let us in last week.
What was that feeling for you? You know, I've been out reporting on stories, had situations that popped up that we didn't expect. For you personally, being on camera and then having someone walk up and telling you to leave an area, what were the thoughts going through your mind?
I mean, I was frustrated just because I knew that it was a public street in a public area. And, you know, as a reporter, you want to get in where you know you're allowed to be and get video and tell the story. I mean, we were just there trying to be respectful and tell the story of the memorial. So really more than anything, I was just frustrated that they wouldn't let us in. And also last week, you know, they wouldn't really hear us out. I mean, I was trying to explain, you know, that we're not here to take a side. We're just here covering the trial. And as I said, to tell the story. So I would say like frustration was really what was going through my mind the most.
If you're joining us right now on NewsNation Now, Brian Enton joins us, a correspondent for our network, and he's in Minneapolis covering the trial of Derek Chauvin, who's accused of killing George Floyd and was moved away from where the memorial is of where George Floyd died last week. But you got into that autonomous zone only to be kicked out once again. That story right now is available on newsnationnow.com. Brian, walk me through the thought process when you were reached out to by someone who said, I can take you inside that area.
Yeah, so there's, you know, obviously a lot of people that live and work in that area that are from Minneapolis, and the people controlling the zone, many of them are not from here. So you have a lot of frustrated people that live and work in that area that want it opened up. So over the weekend, one of those people, his name's PJ Hill. He's actually a former Ohio State basketball player and a community leader here. His uncle is a pastor at the big church in the area that's closed down. He reached out to me on Twitter and was just like, look, I'm so sorry, man, for what happened to you when you tried to come in. It's ridiculous what's going on here. Come back to Minneapolis and I will be happy to escort you into the area. Don't worry, everybody knows me. Like, just come back and you can interview my uncle, the pastor. Also, we're super upset about what's going on. So we came back and we met up with PJ. Again, super nice guy. And he escorted us in. He was showing us around. We went to his uncle's church. But, you know, within maybe 20 minutes of being in the zone, and by the way, we were able to get through the guard gate set up by these activists. But once we were inside, you know, there were several people that approached us again and approached PJ, who grew up in the area, and basically said, you guys have to get out again.
Very compelling video. You can find that full story again on our website. And if you have any questions for Brian from that area, you can ask them on this Facebook page. Brian, the control of that area, I think, is a little bit intriguing as we see gates. This is not normally a gated neighborhood, correct?
No, and it's kind of funny. Some of the people who live there joke that it's turned into a gated community. I mean, they're obviously joking because most of them are frustrated, but no, it's definitely not normally gated.
Can emergency personnel, do police go inside that area?
Well, that's a tricky question. The people who live there that we spoke to said no, they don't, and they don't come in or they can't come in. When we asked police about that, they said that they are able to get into the area when they need to. But the pastor of that church that I was talking about, he said that the activists do not allow ambulances and fire trucks and police in. And there was even a shooting there about 2 weeks ago. A young man was killed in that autonomous zone. And those activists said that they actually had their own medics that tried to attend to the man.
From a municipality standpoint, how is this area possible?
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated. I mean, a lot of people asked me yesterday, so who exactly is controlling the area? And even the people who live there don't know. I mean, there's different groups that have come in there and sort of tried to take control. You ask how it's possible. I think what happened is, it became a gathering place and a place for people to grieve over what happened to George Floyd, which is totally understandable. And then more and more people showed up, and the city actually decided to close the roads and put those concrete barriers there, just I guess for safety, because there were so many people that would come out and be in the street. And just over time, I mean, it's been over a year. Over time, these people just kind of took control. I mean, you can see in the video, they've got gates, they open and close, and they tell people whether they can come in and out. But it's really interesting. Yesterday, the police chief here in Minneapolis held a press conference and made a really big announcement saying that they're actually going to team up with the feds, with the FBI and ATF, and they plan to reopen that area soon. So it could get very interesting very soon.
Did you feel safe? I mean, if outsiders want to come and remember George Floyd at the location where he died, are they welcome? Are they safe?
I mean, the thing is, it seems like at certain times, the people who are controlling the area welcome people in. So you may show up on one day and you just want to come and remember George Floyd, and you can walk in with your family and you may feel like everything's okay. But there are other times when they decide to close the area for whatever reason. So it sort of just depends on what day you show up. Obviously, as a reporter, when you show up with a camera, they do not seem to like that very much.
Are they armed?
It's a good question. The pastor I spoke to said that yes, many of them are. We know that there's been an increase in violent crime. There's been shootings in the area. There's been pictures passed around of even people like snipers up on top of the buildings, which is really scary for obvious reasons. Police obviously have concerns about what's going on in there. So it appears that there are at least some people that have been armed.
And as we begin to wrap up here, Brian, is there any thought from a governmental standpoint, maybe the mayor, maybe even the governor, that more forces would be called in to get that area, I don't want to say secured, because I think the people there think that it is secure, but to get it cleaned up to where you can enter and out of that area?
Yeah, so as I said, I mean, the big development here this week is that the mayor and the police chief have decided to work with the feds, with the U.S. attorney here and with the ATF and the FBI, and they say they're going to reopen that area. We obviously pressed them on a timeline, and they won't give a specific day when they're going to say, hey, we're opening it back up, and we're not really sure how they go about doing that. But yeah, at this point, they say that they are going to partner with the feds to do it. Obviously, it's been really controversial here because you've got some people who really think that those folks should just be left alone, give them their space right now with everything going on. But you've also got a lot of people who are very upset with the mayor, who has said, how have you let this go on for so long, to the point now that it's literally a guarded autonomous zone.
Very compelling video can be found on this story on NewsNationNow.com. Brian also working on a story for tonight for our newscast that begin at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock Central with Early Edition here on News Nation. What are you working on today surrounding the George Floyd case?
Yeah, so we're working on just sort of the latest update today. It's every day this case takes different twists and turns. Jury selection has just had a lot of issues because the biggest issue right now is, the city awarded $27 million to the Floyd family. They made the announcement last week, and many of the potential jurors who have been chosen had heard about that settlement because it made such big news. They actually had to dismiss two of the jurors who said that they now felt like they were biased because of hearing about the settlement. So today we're going to have a wrap up on everything happening with the trial so far, how jury selection is going, and also we're taking a closer look at what it would be like to be a juror on this trial. I mean, it's so surreal here in Minneapolis. They've got three layers of fencing around the courthouse. There's barbed wire. There's National Guard with like Humvees surrounding the courthouse. So you can imagine, like, if you got chosen to be a juror. Not to mention that the time commitment. I mean, it could be a month or two out of your life, but there's a lot of fear that goes into that. So we're going to be taking a closer look at that also.
Brian Enton reporting for us out of Minneapolis. Brian, thank you so much.
Thanks, Aaron. Have a good day. We'll see you later.
All right. Again, it's very compelling video. You can see the area surrounding George Floyd Square on your screen. Now, Brian was able to go inside before being kicked off, and he did this story because weeks earlier, he was outside where that gate is right now when someone approached him and told him to leave. It was again, I want to use the word compelling. It was very interesting. It was very interesting to see that, so I encourage you to watch that story and join us tonight starting at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock Central for early edition on NewsNation. Brian will have much more from Minneapolis. I am Aaron Nolan. Have a great afternoon.